Hi, my name is Dereck Coons. I'm one of the owners of Violin Shop Tampa, and we're going to go over a couple of things today to sort of help you keep your violin in good maintenance and in good shape while you may not be able to get to a shop to have somebody help you out. What we're going to talk about today is the violin bridge, how to reset it, how to replace it, how to keep it in good condition. A lot of you have just opened up your violin case after a long time and realized that the strings are loose and the bridge may have shifted. So we're going to go over some fundamentals today on how to reset your bridge, bring the strings up to tension and make sure that it's in the right spot until everything opens back up and you can get into the shop and have a luthier take a look at it. One of the first things I want to discuss is the placement this way on the violin. Makers a long time ago left us a little footprint, and that's the inside tick on the F-hole, and you can see it right there. There's a tick on the inside, there's a tick on the outside. Most makers and luthiers will agree that the bridge should be centered on the inside tick. So right there is the inside tick on that side, and the inside tick on that side is there, or tacca as the Italians call it. I think the Germans call it the mincer because it measures the distance between here and keeps all string length on violins fairly consistent. So that should line up with the center line of the bridge. And that gives you a placement this way on the violin. You know, one really good way to visualize this, and I don't really recommend that you do this. I'm using a special China marker that we can remove very easily at the shop. But if I just take a straight line and I draw it across, you'll see that that goes from inside tick to inside tick, and then the bridge should be centered on that line, like that. So if you've opened up your case and your strings are all kind of off to the side, and your bridge is either there or shifted or it's completely fallen off the instrument, that's kind of normal because it's just the string tension that holds that into place. So what you're going to want to do is to just loosen the strings a little bit to where you're not forcing the bridge back into place. You can set it up and eyeball the center line of where that tick mark is. And you can do that by sort of holding it up and closing one eye, and you can get the bridge fairly close. If it's an older violin, it may have divots in the top or little spots, compression marks where the bridge has sat for a long time, kind of like this violin here. And you can see a little bit of dust, but you can see the marks where the bridge has set for a long time. If I take the bridge off of this instrument, you'll be able to see it more clearly. And you can see there, it's got those marks. Now, if the marks where the bridge used to sit do not line up with the tick marks, I would err on the side of putting it back where it used to sit. The tick marks are just a starting point, you know, for the bridge to be placed, but if it's got real good grooves worn in, the chances are that bridge was fit, the bottom of those feet were fit to sit in those grooves. And that's a call. If you want to give us a call to the shop and send us a couple pictures, we can give you some advice that way until we're able to open back up again. The second thing that you're going to want to look at besides placement vertically on the violin like this is placement sort of horizontally. And you don't want the bridge too far this way or too far this way. The bridge wants to be centered. One really good way that you can use a good visual cue is to look at the inside eye of the F-hole and this line right here and this line right here. The bridge doesn't want to be too far this way or this way, and the outside edge of the foot should line up with those eyes, the inside eye of the F-hole. A second way, and the one that we use mostly in the shop, is to close one eye and sight down the fingerboard and make sure that your bridge is in line that way. And you can see it. It's very difficult. I don't know if the camera will be able to pick it up, but if you look this way, you can see if the bridge is centered one way or the other. And you can also tell by the strings on the fingerboard whether it's too far one way or the other. Now, there's a whole other discussion that you could have about what if my angle of the neck is off. That's beyond the scope of this. That means that your violin probably needs some repair or some specialized care, and I wouldn't want to give you advice on a short video demonstration like this. So once we've determined the placement this way, and we've got the relative placement this way, we can start to bring tension up on the pegs. So I'm just going to do like a quarter of a turn on each peg, and you'll see that the bridge wants to move slightly as I turn the pegs. So I'm turning the A peg up now, and see the bridge is shifting a little bit. Make sure the strings are in the notches. And I've got just a very slight amount of tension up on the instrument right now, not enough to really affect it, or to play it for that matter, but it's adding some stability to the bridge now. The bridge doesn't want to move, and it's going to sit pretty much where we have it now. At this point is when I would like to add some graphite, some fresh graphite to the notches on the bridge. And I'm going to do that by just gently lifting a string and just coloring that little section. You can use a number 2 pencil. In the shop here, we like to use 9B graphite, which is we get from the art store. If you have any art supplies laying around, look for the softest lead that you have, or softest graphite. And what that's going to do, once you color those notches, it's going to allow the strings to slide through as opposed to adding a lot of friction and having to pull the bridge as you bring it up to pitch. So I'm going to go ahead and put graphite in both of those, all 4 notches. And now I'll begin the process of actually bringing it up to pitch. A couple of things I'm going to want to keep in mind. If you have a string protector on there, which is this little guy here, what that does is it stops the E string from digging into the violin bridge. So I'm just going to lift it and place it gently on the notch. Some bridges have a leather on the notch or a parchment, and in that case you don't really need this protector. This violin does have a leather, so what I'm going to do with the string protector is I'm just going to slide it down over the thread down here, and that's going to stop it from buzzing. If you let it sit here, it's just going to rattle when you bring the violin up to pitch, and you're not going to know what's making that weird sound. So just bring it all the way back over the winding, and you should be fine. You're going to need a tuner unless you have a really good ear to use to bring this up to pitch. And I'll set the tuner right there so that you can see. Check and make sure that the top of the bridge moves freely. Check it with the card. If you notice that you've gone down too far with the fine tuners and you have no more room to go, what you need to do is loosen them up all the way and then use the peg to get it close to pitch and then start again with the fine tuner. And it will happen. It takes usually a couple of weeks or a couple of months depending on how much you practice, but you'll bottom these fine tuners out. And it's important that you just loosen them up all the way, use the peg, and then you'll have more room to use the fine tuner. I hope that this helped you guys keep your violins in tune. Thank you for watching, and that you all stay safe. This is Derek from Violin Shop Tampa.